You guys will never believe there's two cop cars, okay? And they're chasing this four-wheel deal with this real neat horse.
Alright, tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the squeaks. If you've got a TRE, you're probably familiar with the dread squeak sounds that always come out of the back end of these things. Multiple different spots you need to worry about. So the radius rods that are on the TREs are a little different than the rest of the machines that are out there. So obviously they're pretty beefy, they're arched, but they also have this rubber boot that's over the heim joints. And lighting up here so always be a problem for me. So as you take a look at it, that boot does keep the dust and dirt and debris out of the heim joints. However, they squeak terribly bad from the factory. Like the first 40 miles I had in the machine, there was two places that I identified that were almost unbearable. Those joints, and obviously it's dirty, but the spherical ends on the top and the bottom of the shocks as well. So a couple of things with those. You have to pull the shock apart. When you pull the shock apart, there's an O-ring that pops off. You have two little spacers that slide out. What I normally do is just wipe a little bit of grease in those, reassemble them, and then get everything bolted up together. And I only maybe need to do that every 2 years. That's enough grease to keep those from squeaking for a long period of time. If you haven't done it, I highly suggest that you look into it because it's gets rid of a really bad annoying noise. Now, on the others, these aren't greasable, right? Well, that's what they say. A lot of people also talk about how they stick them with all these needles, or they pull them out and then try to pack them full of grease. I do this once a year. Basically what I use is I use a lock and lube tip. So you've never seen the lock and lube. Basically you just push this little lever, unlocks, and then in this case I have it snapped onto a greasing hypodermic needle. So with this, all I normally do is just slide it on the inside of the boot up into the joint, give it a couple of pumps of grease, slide it back out of there, and then just wipe off the excess grease if at all possible. So you've got 8 points to do. Obviously you got an upper and a lower here, on this side here, and then back over by the caliper, you've got an upper and a lower that you got to do over here as well. Once you do those, like I said, I don't get hardly any squeaks out of them. This thing gets submerged in water, sand, silt, things like that all the time. Rarely do I get another squeak out of it. I only give it maybe 1 or 2 pumps every year just to prevent it because I don't want to be out on the trail and hear the thing start squeaking. So other than that, from the creaks, squeaks, and moans that I've had with my machine, the rear sway bar mounts, make sure that you grease those. The Zerk is up underneath and they're kind of a pain to get to. But that's another point, and you can just see the sway bar mount there. So I would also make sure to grease those before you go out on the trail, and that'll prevent even more squeaks and annoyances. That's it for tonight. It's a really simple topic, but you'll find on the forums there's a lot of guys that talk about the squeaks with the TRE. Hopefully this helps you a little. Tonight's Shino the Night is called the Foster. After a hard night of drinking with this, you wake up the next morning, take a look around, and say, holy shit, I fostered a kid?